Hello Mustangs, welcome to this video where I'm going to introduce to you guys Unit 3. In this video I'm going to basically talk to you about what this unit's going to be about and give you kind of a little crash course really of some important ideas. This is definitely worth watching, and just to encourage you guys to watch it, if you choose to watch this and complete all of the questions attached to this video, then I will give you an extra credit. I will replace one of your daily grades. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and move forward. Okay, so welcome to Unit 3. This is basically going to talk to you about how culture shapes and is shaped by geography. Okay, our key focus for this unit is understanding cultural identities and their global connections. This particular unit is worth about 12 to 17% of your AP exam. So what is culture? Well, we've already talked about this a little bit in class. Culture comprises shared practices, attitudes, and traits within a society. It can be transmitted by societies across different geographic location, and can have different traits like food preferences, architecture, and land use patterns. So during this unit, some of the understandings: cultural practices can vary across geographic locations. These are often influenced by physical geography, available resources, and historical interactions. And this also explores how environment shapes cultural identity too. So kind of pulling in some of those ideas from human environment, like cultural determinism and environmentalism and things like that. Okay, so we have a lot of topics here. There's 8 big topics, and so you'll notice that there's kind of a pattern here. The first 3 are kind of connected, then the rest of them are kind of connected by diffusion. So there's kind of 2 distinct parts here. So cultural landscape, guys, focuses on combining combinations of cultural features, physical features, agricultural practices, industrial, and explores how the landscape reflects cultural identities. So when you take a look at an image like you see here, how does this reflect cultural identity? Well, we see language, we see clothing, we see the architecture of the building that might tell us something. We're basically taking all of this and putting it together to essentially get an idea of what their culture's like and how do we see influences of culture there as well. Okay. We also talk about diffusion, so we're going to study how it spreads through traditional means, or at least historical means, and contemporary means. So we're going to look at distribution of languages, religious practices, and cultural patterns. This map we looked at in the very first, very beginning of the year comes back up again because now we actually get to talk about how diffusion works. So a lot of types of cultural diffusion. We have relocation diffusion. This is going to be cultural traits spreading as people move from one place to another. Expansion diffusion. These are ideas or traits that spread outwards without people moving. So this is not me moving around to give it. So within expansion, there's 3 types. There's contagious, which is quick, kind of like a virus. There's hierarchical, which is spreading from influential people or places to others in a ranked order. And stimulus diffusion, sort of like how the core idea spreads, but it's adapted and changed by new cultures. So like when McDonald's spreads to other places, and it's still McDonald's, but there's going to be new food items based on whatever is in that particular region. Okay. Then we have historical versus contemporary causes of diffusion. Historically, we've seen colonialism, imperialism, trade as a source of diffusion. Today, globalization, technology, and communication are all contemporary influences. We'll also talk about religion, specifically different types of religions. So we'll talk about universalizing religions, the ones that seek to appeal to everybody. They're everywhere, and they spread through missionaries and conversion, like Christianity, Buddhism, so on. And then we have ethnic religions that are more tied to a place or a group, and there's not as much spread because it's more based off of your birth or your heritage. And then we'll also explore some of these cultural Hearths, where kind of they started and how they were able to spread. We'll also take a look at the effects of cultural diffusion. Really, there's 4 key things we're looking at. Acculturation, which is basically adopting some traits while keeping your original culture. Assimilation is basically a minority culture being absorbed into a dominant one and losing what makes it distinct. Syncretism is going to be a blending of different culture traits into a new unified form. And multiculturalism is like a coexistence of diverse cultures with mutual respect and recognition. We'll learn about how cultures transform and interact. So with this unit, guys, we got a couple of important dates. Remember, don't forget, at the time of this recording, the exam registration is still going on, so please consider registering for the exam. I would love 100% of my students taking the exam. The deadline is October 15th. You're either paying $12 or $42, but you can get paid $50 if you pass the exam. So talk to me if you're unsure. For this unit, I will break it up into two distinct checkpoints. As you kind of saw earlier, there's kind of two distinct points in this unit itself. So we're going to make sure we have quizzes at that point. So there will be a quiz on the 17th and 16th, and then there will be another quiz on the 27th, 28th. You will also have a project, something I've already discussed in a different video. So if you haven't watched that video, make sure you check that out. There's 2 milestones for that project, so just make sure to be mindful. And then our exam days, we're going to take it on Wednesday, November 5th. Be mindful that is after a 2-day break. So just be mindful of your time and make sure you're studying, okay? So Wednesday, November 5th, Friday, November 7th. And then that's pretty much it. Now, studying, guys, this is something I haven't talked to you guys a bunch about, but when you're studying, guys, here's a good little timeline. The first 2 weeks, you should be going home and just kind of reviewing notes, reviewing content, studying vocabulary. Then by week 3, I really should see you guys starting to take progress checks. You won't know everything on the progress check, but you'll know most of it, and then you can retake it as you need to. By week 4, again, progress checks, practice quizzes, vocabulary. We'll have bookets out by that point. I should really see you guys taking advantage of all of those different tools so that way you guys can be successful. Some recommended resources, guys. If you haven't checked out Mr. Sin from YouTube, he has playlists dedicated to every single unit that we cover. I highly recommend you guys checking them out. Maybe there's things that I don't explain very well in class that you guys should really be watching as well. So it will never hurt to go kind of watch a follow-up video. So those of you that want to study, this is a great source. You can also check out your textbook. Make sure you are obviously keeping up with the readings anyway. For this unit, there's a lot of chapters and a lot of pages that it could talk about. So what I'm doing basically is the readings will be, there will be questions over a specific section, but I will include an additional section for you guys if you want to be that person that reads ahead, basically, okay? It's not required. You only ever have to do the questions, but for the person that wants to make a 5, they'll read ahead a little bit, okay? If you guys haven't already looked into getting practice exam workbooks, guys, there's a ton of different resources in Barnes & Nobles, for example. There's different study books about AP Human Geography. So if you're serious about doing well on the test, that's another option as well. I don't necessarily want to advocate for spending more money. I know that money is a thing that people need, but it is an option there for you guys. Even then, there's still free stuff. You guys still have your progress checks, and there's still free YouTube channels that you can watch too. If you guys are not making flashcards, you really should be making flashcards. There's a lot of vocabulary in these tests. The number varies, but by the end of this, we'll have about 400 vocabulary words to 600 vocabulary words just from this class alone. So guys, you really should be taking time to study your vocabulary. You could take your notes, make a mind map with it. You could practice free response questions. There's a ton available online. Okay. In fact, if you haven't even heard of it, there's an app called iScore5. I highly recommend you guys taking it. It's about $5 on the App Store, but it's basically questions that you could put on your phone, and you could literally just be sitting there doing some questions while you are on the bus or wherever you are waiting for your next class, basically. Now, last thing is I really want to give you guys a technique that you guys can use for this unit, okay? You guys really need to work on studying and time management. So this strategy is going to work on both. So it's called the Pomodoro Technique. What you're going to do when you're studying, you are going to focus on 25-minute intervals. What you're going to do is you're going to pick one thing to study. Maybe it's flashcards, maybe you're going to do a mind map, maybe you're going to just kind of highlight your notes. But you're going to set a timer for 25 minutes to do that one thing. You're not jumping around, and you're working with a complete focus. You're not on your phone. You're not listening to music that's crazy. You are focused on just that for the 25 minutes. And then after 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break and then move on to the next thing. And as you do this, you should track yourself. Create yourself a little tracker. You could do this in, a couple moments. Make yourself a little chart. You could talk about the number of intervals completed, the amount of subject studies. This could apply to any subject, not just mine. And maybe even just set yourself a goal, like how many times do you want to study? How much time do you want to study in a week? And most importantly, guys, reward yourself. Give yourself a award. Maybe after 4 full cycles, that's 25. That's basically 100 minutes. I mean, plus 5 minutes for the break. Reward yourself. Play a little game. Watch a show. Hang out. Do something. But reward yourself after completing 4 full cycles. Okay, and that way you have something to look forward to. Lastly, if you haven't heard of Crash Course has an incredible YouTube channel talking about, or YouTube playlist talking about study skills. If you've never looked at these before, I highly recommend taking a look at these as well. They're going to give you some more strategies as well. So for those of you that need to work on your studying, this is a great place to start, and I highly recommend it. So thank you guys for your time, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.